In my favor is the fact that I think we may be in a period of crisis right now, certainly an environmental crisis, an economic crisis of a concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, and of course a political crisis, which is all too evident in the rise of populism, nationalism, society divided against itself. My own crisis happened 15 years ago. I used to believe in the Western model. I used to believe that free markets, lightly regulated, were the best way to bring wealth and flourish, allow everybody to flourish. I used to believe that small groups of people representing the whole, so-called representative democracy, was the best way to govern, the best way to bring peace, stability to our society. I was once a member of that small group. I was a British diplomat. I worked on many things. I ended up working on Iraq and its chemical, biological, and nuclear weapons. My crisis came to a head when I realized my government had been telling lies about the things that I had worked on. I ended up testifying in secret to an official inquiry into the war, and after great personal torment and anguish, I decided to resign from the British Foreign Office. But my crisis had been building for some time before that. But when I looked out of my window, I saw something different. I saw inequality rising. I saw the concentration of carbon in the atmosphere increasing rapidly. I saw, particularly after 9/11, which I witnessed, I saw growing instability and what seems to be now perpetual war. What do we see in the world? We see billions of actors in a constant process of action and reaction and counter-reaction. It is not order, it is not chaos, it is something in between. This is the definition of a complex system, of complexity. First of all, it's impossible to understand a complex system from the top down. It's constantly dynamic. There are far too many moving pieces. If you take a snapshot of it at one moment, it's already changed. In a complex system, order is plausible, it is feasible through the actions of individual agents, us, individuals, cooperating together, collaborating to create things, to organize ourselves, to organize our society. And I realized that by deduction, rather than by conviction, I had actually come to believe, almost by accident, in anarchism. Believed that you could only have government for the people when it was by the people. And I think if they were around today, they would argue that anarchism is more relevant than ever. And I would suggest to you that it is, in fact, essential if we're going to solve the problems in front of us. Well, first of all, anarchism doesn't tell us that things will be all right in the end. Both communism and capitalism have in common this idea that it's all going to be okay if we keep doing it. We go through the pain now, eventually it's going to be good for everybody. Anarchism doesn't pretend that. It doesn't offer a blueprint for a utopian society, which, by the way, is inherently fascistic. Anarchism is a process. It is action. It is collaboration with people without power, without people having power over one another, collaboration as equals, everybody included in decision-making. It is work, unlike voting. Though I'm sure you agree that our current political system, with politicians trading simplistic, vulgar slogans about what to do about the world, and electoral politics and partisanship that seems to be more successfully dividing us than uniting us, the political system that we have today is more part of the problem than the solution. Anarchists propose instead direct democracy. This means everybody involved in the decisions that affect them. This was democracy as practiced in ancient Greece, where citizens took it in turns to take the decisions for the city. But more recently, direct democracy has been practiced by tens of thousands of people in a large city in Brazil called Porto Alegre, where thousands of people took part in debates to decide the priorities for the city budget. After 10 years of this, the World Bank, of all people, did a study of the results, and the results were extraordinary. Though perhaps predictable if you think about it, if you include rich and poor alike in decision-making, the outcomes of those decisions are going to be more equitable. And sure enough, when the World Bank looked at Porto Alegre, they found that things like sanitation, healthcare, and education were much more fairly distributed than they had been before this experiment in participatory democracy began. They also found, interestingly, that both politics, the ugly form, partisanship, and corruption all dramatically declined, which again makes sense, because if politicians are not allowed secretly to carve up a budget and pay off their cronies, why do you need political parties at all? This is a system that has been proven. It's not a wild idea. Anarchism isn't chaos. People think, oh, it just means, everything a free-for-all. It's not that at all. But you can't have a fair politics when power and wealth is concentrated in the hands of a few. The wealthy, those already with wealth and power, will always get access to the decision makers. They will always be able to reach those policy makers more easily than the rest of us. You have to create a fair economy. Anarchists do not propose state ownership as the answer. They propose instead that everybody who contributes to an enterprise should be a beneficiary of that enterprise. They should be an owner of that enterprise. They should have a say in the future of that enterprise. This is, of course, the cooperative model. And again, it works. Spain's 10th largest company is a conglomerate, a cooperative called Mondragon. In Britain, its longest-lasting retail store was founded when the family owner of a collection of stores realized that his family was worth more and was earning more than all of the company's employees put together. Disgusted, he turned the company, John Lewis, into a cooperative. I've seen these models work in small villages, in neighborhoods of New York City, in cities, big cities, also in a remarkable region of eastern Syria called Rojava, where after the collapse of the Assad regime, they have implemented self-government from the bottom up, including all ethnicities, races, where women are always given leadership roles, chair every meeting, where decisions are made at the lowest level possible, where even in decisions of justice and wrongdoing, they do not look to authority to make the decisions to punish. They look to the group, society, to decide what is best, what is the best way to deal with their problems together. This produces something extraordinary. This produces society that is fairer, that is better, where there is more cooperation, less division, more harmony, more love. But this won't happen on its own. No politician will legislate for this kind of society to arise. It will have to be built and tended to constantly. It's not something that we can just expect to happen through the dialectic. It's pretty clear that the current dispensation that left us very comfortable in the late 20th century of representative democracy and a kind of capitalism, that dispensation is coming to an end. And the question is, what will replace it? And it's pretty clear what will replace it right now, and it's not pretty. And unless we act, that will continue to be our future. So for me, anarchism has become much more than a merely political or economic philosophy. It's become a guide to how to live.